Um, Welcome everyone to the Financial Wellness Center Wealth Wednesday. This is a day where we get to discuss on various ways you can build on wealth. And as usual, one way you can build on wealth is by building a business or a company. So for tonight, we really apologize for starting out late as we were experiencing some technical issues, but we are glad that we are able to see you and get to have a discussion with you. As earlier mentioned, we are going to discuss on the events industry. A lot of businesses have been brought down, especially in the events industry, or what we usually refer to as MICE industry, because of this coronavirus pandemic. And today we are going to, our guest is going to discuss with us on what kind of challenges do they experience, him being in that industry for quite a while and actually having a business in that industry. He's going to tell us what kind of challenges are they experiencing, and what are the solutions they have already started coming up with, and how do they see the audience or their customers adapting to it. So without further ado, or without taking much time, I would like to remind each of us to ensure that you check out our YouTube channel. We will attach the link above this live session, and you may also follow us on Instagram at Financial Wellness Center, and we shall be following you back right away. So without wasting more time, I would like to give our guest, Mr. Calvin, to introduce himself and tell us more about his company, Ascenti Africa, and of course share with us what is going on. Calvin, welcome.
Sheila, for inviting me, and yeah, thank you very much. It's nice to actually be here, and it's nice to have a chat with you as well. My name is Calvin Jodisi. I run a company called Ascenti Africa, which is basically an event company. We have different events that we do every year, and I mean our corporate events and also youth events, but we are very much known for the Africa Summit on Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which is a Pan-African entrepreneurship and innovation conference that brings young people from across Africa to discuss entrepreneurship and innovation. And it's actually started like 2015 was our first conference. Then we also had 2016, 2017, 2018 as well, and up to this year as well. We're also planning to have a virtual conference, and it's been quite a success. You know, working with young people, getting to interact with young people across Africa. I think it's been something really cool to learn from, and yeah, and also we run a couple of corporate events. So one of our corporate events is called Financial Inclusion Awards, which is basically an award that recognizes companies that are actually driving financial inclusion in Kenya. And then also we have the Kenya Beverage Awards, which is one of the events that are actually targeting the beverage industry, celebrating and also just trying to get customer feedback in terms of probably what they like in different beverage aspect as well. So those are our main two brands. But I'm also the founder of Africa Startup Campus, which is more of an entrepreneurship training and incubation program or company that just help to educate people on entrepreneurship and innovation. And then also I founded a social enterprise called Ecopoa that basically works with the youths in the slums to teach them on how to make innovative products like bags, I mean recycled bags, and also like we also do decorations for like wine bottles and all those kind of stuff. So yeah, so basically that's me in a nutshell, but looking forward to this conversation as well.
Perfect. That was indeed a very extensive introduction, and we really are grateful to have you on board so that you can get to share with us more so on the events industry, because it is one of the industry that has been hard hit by this pandemic. Of course, there is the airline industry and the hospitality, but for both airline and hospitality to really function, the event industry has to come in between. So I think we'll just start right away. Maybe you could tell us, being in events, share with us how COVID-19 has impacted the daily business operations.
Yeah, I mean, I must say this has really been a big impact, and I think starting from February, because that's when most of the countries actually started having lockdown and putting all the measures that we've seen. And so most of the people that actually planned the events in February, they couldn't really, I mean, they've been really experiencing a lot of challenges because they couldn't go ahead with the events because by then governments were already, closing down events. There's no any form of interaction. And if you can remember, like in Kenya, I think they started closing almost, I think early March. There was no, schools were closed. There were no events. There were no any kind of events. People were social distancing, and people were encouraged to stay at home and all that, and to minimize physical contacts with each other. So that's when the whole thing started. And you know very well that entertainment ran the world. Like any form of entertainment, any form of gathering, be it church gathering, be it any form of event. So entertainment runs the world. So the fact that the events were not able to take place, that itself really shut, the economy. And there's so many people that depends on events, because if I give you example, I mean, like a good example, I mean, I do events. When I do events, the person who actually going to provide for me lightings, the person who's going to provide for me screen, the person who's going to provide for me PR, all those guys benefit from me because, and then also other people like ushers, like, if I'm going to pay for ushers to come, all these guys benefit from me. Like they're all going to benefit from that same event. So you could imagine it's been having like a very big impact because the fact that the events are not there, the ushers cannot be able to make their money, the people who provide screens, the people who provide sound, the people who provide almost all these things, they're not going to be making money. So I think basically the event industry has a diverse kind of impact, and it has, and we cannot just look at it just taking it for granted, but the impact is quite huge, and it cut across different sectors as well.
You are right, Calvin. A lot of business operations have been affected. As you mentioned, we need people for your PR, we need people for PA, you need ushers, we need, decorators just to make an event happen. And I believe with a lot of cancellations of events that we've seen in a couple of days, it has become really difficult for the events industry to navigate through this season. So and this will lead me to my next question is, what do you think is next for this industry? Should we assume that now no more events, or should people who own events company not reconsider building up on them and decide to go and start other businesses?
No, I can't really say that. Like, I can't really say that people need to reconsider or, go for something else, because I personally believe that, if the event has a bright future, and there's so many things that, there's a lot of innovations, there's a lot of things that actually can, that events focus on. So I don't think that, we need to rethink, because I believe that very soon things will go back to normal. As time goes by, you've seen different countries have started even being a bit kind of like a bit slow in terms of their measures and their regulations and all that. So it tells you that the most of the countries actually are putting in the right measures that need to be, and probably very soon in the next 2 or 3 months, or maybe early next year, I'm sure the event industry will actually resume to normal. So I think it's good that we we have to be innovative. We have to think outside the box, but again, we just have to keep our vision alive. Like if you are doing any kind of events, just keep it on. Probably just try to go online, try to do something new this time, but making sure that you start planning for 2021. So if your event was this year, probably I would encourage you to start planning it for 2021, so that by 2021, maybe around March or February, you can actually have people attending your event physically.
Perfect. Just to take a break and welcome all those that are joining in. I can see there is one who is saying, Jane Maura, good talk there. Thank you to all our viewers, and to those that are just coming in. We really want to appreciate your time, and apologies for starting out late. We are discussing on the disruption in the events industry. Events industry cuts across. If you are an event organizer, or if you are a person who hosts birthdays, baby showers, corporate events, informal events like dowry, weddings, we are discussing on how this industry has been affected by this COVID-19, and what are the solutions can we incorporate in such an industry so that we don't end up losing it all. As I always say that in every pandemic, in every situation, in every difficult situation, there is an opportunity. All you need to do is to open your eyes and start seeing beyond the situation. So, Calvin, you just encouraged most of the people who are in the events industry, whom I believe they are currently watching us, that this is not the time for them to give up on their business. Rather, this is the time for them to be innovative, to go online, to see what they can do and how maybe they can keep things going. Now, this leads me to my other question is, which options can be put into application so as to balance between health and safety of parties involved while meeting the business financial obligations?
So, obviously, this was not something expected, especially for the people in the event industry, because last year we were not sure that the COVID-19 would actually go to this magnitude. Despite by December there were cases in China and all that, but probably people just thought, as normal, we usually have a lot of like the flus and all that we thought that this thing actually would just remain in China and would actually not go across the world. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges, and it's and that's the reason why the event industry has been very big in affected, because most of those people didn't save. They didn't have any kind of savings. Probably they actually planning more like, oh, by February I'll make actually some money from my events, or by March I'll make some money from my events. So there was not that plan. And events, just as many businesses, events are not very insured business. You can't really insure like, I'll be doing event in December, so I insure it against, just in case I don't do it. So events are not insured. They're not like a company, like they're not like your normal company where probably you might insure against maybe some form of risk. So I think that has been quite impactful, especially for the guys in the event industry. And for me, I think, the question that you ask is, I think it's very important that in future we should actually prepare for similar pandemic. In the event industry, we should not just think of the next event and the next event and the next event, but think about, what about if you're not going to do another event? Will you be able to sustain yourself? Will you be able to sustain your employees if you have employees that you're working with? will you be able to sustain, your suppliers? Will you be able even to sustain your brand? So for me, I think it's quite important that we realize that we need to plan for the future. It's very important for the event industry that we need to plan for the future. We need to be ready for anything that might happen, so that in future, in future pandemic, because for now you've known that we have in the COVID-19, the pandemic. What about maybe next year? Something else can come up, or maybe what about 5 years later? Something else can come up, because you don't know. But with these challenges, challenge us to actually start thinking. So probably maybe you can, like myself, I've started thinking like, okay, I would like to invest not only in event, but probably if I do events, I would like to invest in something else that actually could be income generating. So yes, you have events, but you can actually invest in something else that will be generating money. And I think also one thing that I can say generally, the COVID-19 has shown us that we need to think outside the box. Right now, you need to think of, so if you're doing events, you need to think of another business that does not really need people, or it needs just online people. So let's say I'm doing an event, maybe I have an online shop, or have an online, or maybe I have food business, or I have maybe drug business. I'm selling, medicine or something. So is you have to look at, yes, you're doing event. What about the main essential? Do you run any essential service? And I think that's a challenge to us, that yes, you'll be doing events, yes, you're running maybe a club, or you're running an entertainment whatever joint, or you are a musician. Do you have any other business that is actually essential, so that in case all this business fail, you can actually still be relevant in and make some money?
That is very profound, Calvin. You actually mentioned three things that have caught my attention. One of them being events industry needs to now adapt to getting insurance for their business, because I'm just trying to imagine um, most of the businesses that are in this industry, if they didn't have insurance and they had employees, how are they surviving right now? And if an event has been cancelled, definitely if they had made a 50% payment, you need to refund. So I believe getting an insurance for our businesses is very important. And another thing that you mentioned that I really second you on, that is learning to diversify your business umbrella. Like if you have events, don't focus on doing corporate events. You can actually add things that are essentials still under your events umbrella, so that if events goes south, you
Yeah,
can
you can
still
have
have
something
something
running. Yeah.
to keep your employees going, and of course to keep yourself going. That is really something we need to consider, and of course it will be able to help you meet your business financial obligations. um I can see Victor Sami has joined us, and he's saying it must be really tough for those who had not saved. Correct.
Yeah,
It's very
exactly. Yeah.
difficult right now, especially if you are a founder of a business. Everybody is looking up to you. It is indeed a headache, and of course, most financial institutions, they are a bit lenient to give people money right now because they don't know how you're going to pay them back.
Yeah,
Now,
and especially those who are in the event space as well. Yeah.
maybe you could touch base on us. Have you tried to approach a financial institution and let them know if they can bail you out in
Yeah.
your events company? What
No,
was
no,
their
I
reply?
actually, yeah, actually, right now I haven't, I haven't started going, to the financial companies and all that. Um, yeah, but I think definitely it won't be easy for somebody who fully depends on events to be able to, get some loan, because of obviously right now even the banks are quite cautious on who they actually lend to, because of the financial assurity. And I think we're going to talk about that probably later, when we have to look at more like digital space in terms of doing events on the digital space. So I think that's also another challenge that you will definitely experiencing in terms of, can banks or even lending institution actually trust you? Because right now you're not making money. If you tell them like, oh, I have an event maybe next year, they might not be willing to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. Most financial institutions, they are kind of hoarding their money, and they are really
Yeah.
keen to see where they can lend and get more income instead of lending to a business they are not sure about. Now, this goes to
Exactly.
our, next view. Maybe you could tell us what's your view on virtual meetings versus destination meetings. Um,
Um,
I'll just give just a second. Just give us something that happened to me few weeks ago. We had to attend a friend's birthday virtually, and
mhm.
it sounded very weird. It's because this is something we've never done. We are so used to, if somebody has a birthday, we go there. If somebody
Yeah.
has a wedding, we are going there. But
Yeah.
what happened to me in the few weeks, attending a birthday event virtually and, having to do all that joy, it felt quite different. And maybe you could
Yeah.
tell us what's your view on that? Should we embrace it as our new normal, or what should we do?
Yeah, I mean, we have to really embrace this as our new normal for now. Yes, I mean, despite most countries are opening up, but we've seen a few challenges of countries trying to open up and then they still go back to the same case. And I think that even happened in South Africa, where they opened schools and
Mm,
actually kids had to go back home because of the few cases of COVID-19 there. So I think it's something that we need to embrace, and it's something that we will, even after this, we'll have to integrate it with our normal MICE kind of conference. We have to we have to integrate in that, um, in the near future, even when everything settles, we'll be having a conference, but some people can easily join online, and it won't be such a big deal. So, because in the past, I mean, just having somebody to join online was like, so, you're struggling to connect, all that kind of thing, and then people don't feel the connection. But because of
yeah.
this, in near future, we'll have the main conference where you have people seated and all that, but you can comfortably have even the president of another country joining online. For those people that you can't really maybe be able to bring, if I want to invite Elon Musk, what I need to do is just make sure that he joins online and then say hi guys and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's something that we will have to live with it and even integrate it more. And one of the things that I've seen when it comes to event websites,
Mhm.
like Zoom, like Google Meet, like StreamYard, where we host our conversation right now. You find that they've really done quite a big job. They've really done a lot of good stuff, and you find that you can actually do an event whereby you can even have virtual exhibition. You're going to have virtual
Mm,
exhibition. There's virtual
yeah.
attendance. You're given different passes. It's just online, but you're given different access to different rooms where you can meet speakers, you can connect with speakers, you can actually DM them, like send a speaker message. You can check some of the products on exhibition and all that. So it gives you that virtual experience. And so for me, I think this is something that has come to, it's like a revolution, like revolutionize the event industry and give us a new look in terms of in terms of how things should be done, and even a new experience. So for me, I think it's a good thing, and it's something that we're going to live by, and it's something that we will eventually integrate in future events, where even after COVID, we'll actually integrate all these things in future events as well. So I see this as a great opportunity, and I see this as something that people need to get used to, because one of the challenges that people experience, I think, with online events is that people don't feel the touch, like, because I'm not seeing Sheila, like, we're not seated close to each other. So there's no like a very strong touch. But for me, I think as time goes by, you'll be just fine. You'll be like, okay, I want to join this online event. Who is attending? How can I be able to connect with them? And so you can actually connect with them online and even be able to do business. So I think this is a very good thing. And I think going forward, it's something that's going to be impact. But maybe another thing that I can add is looking at revenue model. Will you be able to raise money through online events? Because that's a big challenge, and that's something that actually, I've been having conversation with friends. I'm working on a couple proposals because I want to do, I'll be doing our conference in November, which we're still not sure if it's going to be virtual, it's going to be the real event, and so the problem with virtual events is sometimes you really don't know the kind of like the proposal that you need to send to a company. What kind of impact will they, like, like in a normal event, you would say, okay, you get a free exhibition space, you get to put your stand-up banner maybe in a conference room, you get your table, you get to speak and all that kind of stuff. But here, you might not be able to sell all those, all those packages. So again, is what kind of package do you want to sell? What kind of benefits will your partners get? And those are some of the things that you need to understand. Will you be able to tell them, like, okay, we'll have maybe your logo on our website, we'll have maybe your logo on all our brochures, we will have you as one of the speakers, we'll maybe play a video about your product, we will send you maybe everybody's, the attendance sheet so that you can actually be able to reach them. So you need to see what are some of the things that actually would entice these guys to be able to give you the money, and again, also obviously it depends on the relationship that you've been able to build over time with those companies that actually you're approaching.
Yeah, you are very right, especially on the revenue generation side. I have been thinking, if we are going to go with the virtual event as the new normal, how are you guys going to make money? Because I understand in physical events, or what we call destination meetings, we usually have selling space. You're selling a certain banner for a certain company, you are selling their materials like, t-shirts, books, pamphlets. Now, I'm also thinking, if you are in events and you have a website, it's a good thing to like start your own shop within your website, so that your partners can get to advertise during the virtual event. You see, normally in an event you have coffee breaks, right? Now, instead of the normal coffee break, the normal one you used to, drink coffee, interact, maybe that's the time people could start advertising, and all that. But as you said, we really have to be open-minded and start to embrace this thing that is now here, because most of the countries, we are speculating there could be second wave, in as much as countries are opening right now, and maybe COVID could be here with us for quite some while, for quite some time. Now, I recently got a chance to attend one of these big mobile brands. They were launching a certain product, and this was done virtually. And as you just mentioned, they were giving tickets virtually. But the thing is, there came a confusion, because now, since it's a new thing, you don't know where you need to, which room you need to go so that you can view. Remember, it was just an exhibition for their product, but there was a lot of confusion. So what do you think, what's your take on using tech like AR and 5G to make digital product launches even more innovative, interactive, and effective?
I think there's there's a lot of things that coming up right now, because technology is really advancing pretty fast, and technology is advancing across different sectors. So it's not only like one sector, but if you look at across all sector right now. If you look at the education sector, if you look at even the food industry, if you look at the agriculture, if you look at manufacturing, we are now talking about industrial revolution for 4.0, which gives a dimension of the future of robots, the future of using artificial intelligence, AR, which is reality virtuals as well. So the technology is really, really growing fast, and so even the event industry is actually going very strong. And if you remember, probably the past few years, not really past few years, but last year, we had the robot. The what's the name of that robot? I just forgot about the name of the robot. But
Samantha or what? Yeah.
Sophia, the Sophia robot, right? So
Yeah,
Sophia
yeah, yeah,
robot
I remember.
was actually going around different countries. So Sophia robot was even in the UN, and the robot actually could have a conversation with you. So it tells you that the future is really going quite fast. And it's really competing with the current job opportunities. We are living in an age whereby in future we won't need news anchors, because the robot could actually do everything, and they will make the robot have almost strong similarity with human being. You can actually think that you would actually think that Sheila is a robot until until you look at her very well, because the Sheila robot would actually be able to smile, be able to nod the eye, would actually be able to have maybe very pretty hair. So you couldn't actually know that that is actually a robot. So because of the advance in technology, a lot of things are coming up, and also the same thing with the event industry is coming up. We are going to a very competitive age of 5G. 5G is basically helping increase the speed of data transfer. So it's just going to enable accuracy in terms of internet communication. So if it's going to, because things like 5G is going to it's going to enable us to even have self-driven cars, because the accuracy is going to be quite high. A car can just drive itself up to Nakuru and park, and without knocking anyone, without knocking, so because of the accuracy, in terms of, connecting all those cameras, the speed governors, everything. So it tells you how artificial intelligence is very key. And the same thing actually is happening also with the event industry, whereby if you look at, I think, was it last year when Facebook launched one of their virtual reality, and you find that just by wearing those things, you can actually have an experience of the event. Have like feel, it's kind of give a different feeling. And so those are some of the things that are actually included. And as we, as the world keeps moving on, a lot of innovation around events is going to be. And just as you said, right now we have an online event whereby you can be online, you can have a very good experience with different products. You can connect with the people, you can send them a message, you can interact, like doing coffee breaks, you can interact with people. So it tells you that we're working in a way that we can actually make all this physical experience being digital experience. And so that's where the future is heading, and that's where I think the artificial intelligence, the virtual realities, VR is leading us as well.
Yeah, you are very right. I'm actually thinking on, if now that there will be the robot and all that, then there will be no, maybe employment will not be there, because now people will have to think outside the box. Remember, in business, what is important is, money. So if you are in business, you're always looking for ways you can get to reduce your overhead expenses while increasing your revenue. I just read some few comments. Douglas, you're saying looking good, my people, thank you. What's the place of RFID in modern events, and what's the place of big data in events management?
Yeah.
Before Calvin, you can answer that. Just encourage our viewers. We are almost ending the Q&A session with Calvin. So if you have a question, now feel free to write it right away, and he'll be in a position to answer you. If you are in the events in industry, whether in corporate or other events like as simple as birthdays and all that, feel free to ask in the comments section, and we shall be happy to answer you. Calvin, you can take it up.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks very much, Douglas Logedi. The event industry is growing very fast, and it's quite important that we look at the rate at which it's growing. And anyone planning to join the event industry, and especially looking events like corporate events and some of the technology events that we do, for example. People want to have an experience when they come to an event, and so I don't want to come to an event where I'm just going to sit down and I hear somebody talk and then I leave. But I want to have an extra experience, and so by having an extra experience, I have to, as an event organizer, you have to include other aspects, and that's where things like virtual reality comes into, and that's where even virtual exhibition if for example, if you're planning for online events, like how can you make people have a very good experience in terms of virtual reality? I think during the Africa Day, the Africa Union and I think South African government organized a very good show, and it was really nicely well organized. You had really nice speakers. They had they had musician playing. Some were live, some were recorded, and it was really nicely synchronized. And you could actually feel the experience. Yes, you're not in a physical space, but being that you're online, but you can actually have a feeling and connect with those people. So for the event is how do you connect? Is there that form of connection? And so that is one thing that people actually want to have, that kind of experience. What kind of connection am I going to get? And even after, once things go back to normal, we're going to go, because definitely people will actually want to attend events because they've missed seeing each other, meeting people and all that. But in your event, what kind of experience will you be able to give them? And I think that's very, very important. And Douglas asking about, what's the place of RFID in modern events, and also big data, and let me just mention something a little bit on before I go to RFID. Let me mention something to do with big data, and I think right now collecting data is key. It's not just about, like, even for the online events, not just about saying, okay, here's the ID, here's the Zoom ID, please log in. But you need to make sure that people actually register online for your event, so that you're able to get all the particular data that you need. So probably which country are they coming from, what's the name of their company, what type of business are they doing, maybe how long have they done that business. You need to understand what key data do you need, and the best place to get data is when people voluntarily give you that data. Like maybe when you're organizing an event, people will easily give you those data, like what's the name of your company, what do your company deal with, how old is your company, when was it started, and all that kind of stuff. So people are able to get to understand that kind of conversation. So it's very, very key for you to make sure that people get the right data or the right information that you need. And that data is very important, because with that data you can actually be able to create some statistic, analyze some issues. You can actually even use that data to convince your partners to sponsor your events, because data is gold. Everybody needs data, but you make sure that you actually collect relevant data, because even before your company sponsor you, you can even ask them what kind of data would you like to have? So a company will say, okay, would like to have people's email addresses, would like to have people's contacts, so that probably after event we can actually contact them, share maybe one of our products to them, so that see if they can be able to be interested to probably to get that particular product. So I think it's quite important. It's very, very important for them to be able to, you know, understand that, and data is very key. But that doesn't mean that you need to you know, just use people's data, because, you know, one of the strongest thing that I think almost all countries are embracing right now is data protection, and that's going to be a really, really big thing. You know, sharing people's data is not very good. Like, it's not good at all. But it depends on what you say. So if you give people consent and say, okay, by you agreeing, by you submitting this, you agree that your data can be shared. You know, so you get their consent. So by you accepting this, then you agree that your data can be shared to maybe our partners or third parties, and then that will be good. So I think those are some of the things that you need to put in place and see, how do you protect yourself, you know, from, you know, how do you protect yourself from your audience, you know, who are maybe your delegates and your speakers and all that, and so that they don't, you know, they don't feel that they're not safe, because people don't like their data being shared. People don't like, I can't just share Sheila's contacts without even asking her, you know. So I think those are very important, and it's something that is quite important, and in future data is going to be very key, because getting data would be so hard. Just getting somebody's email address would be quite a hard thing, you know. Just getting somebody's contacts would be such a quite hard thing, because so which means that if you have data, you'll actually be the next rich guy.
And actually, as you mentioned that that segment of data, maybe you could share with us on what tools can a normal events professional use to collect data. You know, we are viewing people, maybe people who are not yet up there in the events industry, and they are really looking into growing. What tools can they use to get data? And you just mentioned how, one of the ways they can use data to, you know, gain some revenue. Maybe you could give us the tools that they can use it.
Yeah, I mean, you can collect data in different, you know, in several formats, but personally, I believe in collecting data through your website, and compared to maybe creating a Google form and sharing, you know, people somehow tend not to believe on kind of like a second part, kind of like a third party, you know. And what I mean is that, yes, Google form is very trusted, it's very safe, but I better give my contact details on a website of an event. So if, for example, if it's my Ascenti website, people will go online and register on my website. So they have a feeling, they have very good connection with my website, compared to me creating maybe a survey monkey, for them to be able to use a survey monkey to be able to register and give me their details, or maybe doing a Google form, or doing maybe there's something called field form. I mean, there's so many, you know, there's so many ways that you can be able to collect data, you know. But one thing that I would probably suggest is that, why don't you create your own online presence? If it's your website, if I'm going to go to financial wellness center website, I can easily give them my data than if financial wellness center sends me a Google document to put my data there. You know, yes, I might put it there because I know this, but it might not be as, I won't feel more confident as having my own website to be able to put my data there. So for me, I think it's good for us to create our own website. And once you create our website, make sure that the website has the best security features. You know, sometimes people go to website, if a website doesn't have an SSL, somebody won't want to leave their data there, because they see that website is more prone to hacking and any other stuff. So somebody will easily access those data. So I think those are some of the things that we need to put in place. How well do you protect your website? How well do you protect your data? Make
Mm-hmm.
people get connected with your business through your website than getting them connected to through maybe a second-hand kind of a form. So for me, I think that's very important. And those are some of the tools that somebody can be able to use. I mean, people don't like getting information on Facebook to kind of leave their contacts on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I still come back to, why don't you have your own website that actually have all the information? And why don't you let people interact with your website and give you details from there?
That is very correct, especially on the website part. Using the website to collect data, it is more secure as compared to sending people forms to fill in and all that. Now I'm
Yeah.
just seated here and thinking. We've seen. I believe you have also experienced the same. You invite people to a virtual meeting, then they come, but within 2 minutes they start lefting. It's like the way WhatsApp group people people leave. So being in the events industry, let's say maybe you've set up an event and you're really you brought partners on board and you're believing that this event is going to bring you revenue because that is what is important. Then people are lefting, they just like pop in and pop out. It's not like a normal event where you'll close the doors and force those people to stay there. What can we do in such an instance?
So I think number one is, I mean, we still go back to collecting data. You make sure you push on people to register for your event before they come in, before they join. So that's very key. Not only like, hey, here's the Zoom ID, please join. You might not be able to get a lot of data just by people joining on with the ID, because the ID doesn't really give you the data of that particular person who has joined. So the number one key thing is you make sure that people give you their data before. So emphasize on emphasize on the registration part. That is number one. So that is very, very key, to emphasize on the registration part. Number two is that you have to give people a nice experience for your online events. Okay, and a nice experience meaning that you have to line up very good speakers that are actually going to entice people. Don't start your conference with very boring speakers. Let people be excited about, like, okay, so we have the first starting session, maybe is we have speaker A, B, C, D. When they're done, people are actually longing for the other speaker. So make sure that you have very good speakers. Let them not be so long. You should know that the lifespan of online meetings are actually shorter than the lifespan of normal meeting. I mean, what I mean is that our lifespan in terms of concentration. If I can go for an event for a whole day, I can't stay online meeting for a whole day. That's a fact.
Sure.
So you have to make sure that they actually, so if it's an event, maybe it's a whole day event, make sure they're short events, maybe 1 hour event, people take a little break and then you come back. Let it be something exciting. Let people be looking forward to the next event, which is quite important. So I think if you do that, then you'll actually be able to make a lot of progress. So the way you design your event is very, very important, so that people don't start leaving, and also because you can't really stop people from leaving. If people are going to leave and yet they gave you their contacts, it's going to be quite easy, because after that, you can easily send them emails, tell them, okay, thank you for attending our events. Here's the presentation. This company A would be glad to reach out to you, so that maybe if you're going to be giving company A your data, then they can actually use that data to be able to contact the people who attended that event. So it's very important that you have to make your event as exciting as possible, make topics that people like, and bring also exciting speakers. Avoid a lot of long presentation. Like, you want to present for people like 1 hour. Yes, I mean, it's good, yes, but I wouldn't want to just sit 1 hour watching a presentation on my screen. But I would wish to sit 1 hour having a genuine and a nice conversation. So I think that's very key. So minimize a lot of presentation, have a lot of videos being played, have a lot of conversations. If you can have entertainment, people can actually play
Mhm.
music and all that, mix all that together, and then it will go well.
That is right, especially on the entertainment part. I had an experience in one event, and we were actually made to dance virtually. Like where you are, you're standing, you're dancing, the other person is dancing. And it was so amazing because it
Yeah,
made that event, we got so hooked on it. It was like for 1 hour, but the dancing part, the icebreakers, it was very, very amazing. So if you are in the events industry, you need to consider incorporating such activities because
yeah.
people can't stay there looking at you for 1 hour. They can't do that. And of course, looking at presentations. So to those that are just joining us, feel free to ask any question as we are about to end the show tonight. Remember, we are discussing on how this COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the events industry, and what can you do as a person who is in the events, or if you're planning to host an event. It could be a birthday party, it could be a bridal shower, it could be a wedding party. I think even dowry will start being done. The dowry event will be done online.
Online, yeah.
I believe we are getting there. And in that case, what do you think about interior decor? Are they called interior decors? Interior designers? Because whenever an event is going to happen, there are
Yeah.
people who come on ground and they make the place beautiful. What do you think is the future of such a career?
Yeah, just as I said previously, is that this pandemic won't last forever, so we're still going to somehow go back to a normal life,
Mm,
which is yeah, we're actually going to go back to a normal life in the next few years. I don't know when that's gonna be, but I'm very sure that we're going to actually to go back to our normal lives. But I think the key thing is, for such kind of people who do interior designs and all that for events, I think it's just important for them to be able to look at maybe other form of businesses or other form of other form of jobs, because if you're interior designer, you can actually still do that in offices. You can still be innovative enough to even do that in people's houses, because now, going forward, a lot of people are going to actually have at least a house office. So do you want to bring a nice experience in people's houses? People are going to be doing Zoom calls in their houses. What kind of ideas would you be able to come with that, yes, I'm going to create for you this kind of wallpaper that you can actually add in your room to make it look nice, so that when you do, maybe you host this kind of calls, then you have nice background, it looks really nice and all those kind of stuff. So I think that's something that they need to now start thinking in terms of how do you make spaces look nicer? How do you make your houses, because most people will be working from home, how do you make their homes looks nicer? So because when this person is going to have an online meeting, the only thing that the audience sees is the background. you know
yeah.
what can you be able to do in terms of making those small spaces in their houses that are actually office, and they're actually where they do most of their Zoom calls and all that look pretty, so that they can actually have a nice experience. So for me, I think that's a thinking that we can put through,
Mm.
and looking at different aspects as well. And I think is just important. But for now, before the COVID ends, I think it's gonna be quite challenging, because I'm even thinking, for example, those people who actually provide tents, because you find that the companies who their work was just provide tents.
Yes. Yeah,
Tents
yeah,
and chairs. Right
yeah.
now you're told if you're going for a burial, it's only 15 people. If you're going to church, it's only 100
Mm-hmm.
people. And
Yeah.
yet you had 1,000 chairs. You have a 1,000 seaters tent. So it's gonna be a bit of a challenge right now, and especially if, for example, you actually got some loan to buy those tents, you know, because you
Yeah.
see events as such was such a lucrative business, you know, just doing one event, actually you can be able to pay your tent and everything, you know. So I think that's some of the things that we need to look at, is that how can we make our spaces at home looks quite beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very correct. You actually mentioned the last part. I think now people should consider creating virtual spaces, then
Yeah.
renting them out. This could be through websites. This could be, I don't know, whichever space you can create online. Then make
Yeah.
people who have events use you to ensure people book their seats online. It's just
Yeah.
like it's not really like the airlines, but the people with tents and chairs, they now have to convert them to virtual something, and
Yeah,
I believe
and I
we.
think also probably maybe I think what you're saying is also make maybe and I don't think that something's been done. Maybe
Mm,
probably making uh, maybe virtual backdrops. I mean, we
yes,
have that in Zoom. I mean, for example, if you use Zoom, you can easily have a virtual background. Like you see somebody
yeah,
seated and the background looks like they're in their house or they're somewhere. I mean,
yeah,
those are some of the things, but you see, what about if you had a website that somebody can actually go and rent a virtual space? Hmm?
yes, yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
know, going to rent a virtual space. So when you go online, you go rent a virtual space. And I think that's very, very key. So, uh, and I think those are some of the innovations that will come, like, you know, developing virtual space, whereby
mm,
right now I would just go to the site, maybe buy a virtual space, and
mm.
when I'm seated there, I look like I'm in a different world.
True, true, true.
Yeah.
That was so nice. I believe to those that have any question, if you have any question, we are about to end in a few minutes. Kendi Mudhomi, you're saying nimefika, kuna pesa inagawa. Yeah, we are giving you money in form of ideas. The ideas that we have discussed here, if you put them into action, they should be able to bring you money in the near future. Dubois Msafiri, that's interesting name. Great talk,
Yeah.
thank you. Um, Once again, thank you so much, Calvin, for your time. Maybe you could give us your parting shot and
Yeah.
what you can say, especially to those people who are in the rural areas or upcoming semi-urban areas who have been in the event industry. What can you advise them? And what can you tell them to start doing right now that can help them by December?
Yeah, so number one, thank you. Thanks, Douglas. You know, Douglas is a good friend of mine, and Candy as well. Thank you guys for for coming through for this talk as well, and also my friend Dubois. Thanks so much for also coming through for this call, and Sami, and other people actually been watching. I think it's been very good. Candy, tutakuona kando, usijali. Kuna tu pesa. So don't worry, tutakuona kando.
Campaign.
But anyway, yeah, it's been very good, Sheila. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for hosting me as well. I think there's a lot of things that we need to think through in advance, but I have to say that we shouldn't give up. There's a lot of opportunities in advance, and hopefully, the COVID-19 will be hopefully ending soon so that we can actually go back to a normal life. But I think
Yeah.
in every pandemic, there's a story to learn. So I'm very sure we've learned something, and through this, actually, a lot of business ideas going to come through. A lot of things actually going to come through. So it's a nice thing. And for those people in the rural, I think the best thing I could say is embrace technology. Technology is very important. It's high time to you embrace technology, and if you embrace technology, regardless of where you are, you can actually be able to succeed.
Perfect. Uh, this is the right time actually to embrace technology and do your best. If you can start with WhatsApp, if you can start with Twitter, if you can start with Instagram, use whatever you have to get wherever you want to get. So I believe there are no more questions. Maybe Calvin, you could share with us your social media handles so that if anyone has a question regarding events, or maybe they want to start an event, or maybe you have the upcoming event, if it's confirmed in November, you can share with us.
So I have an upcoming event in November. That is our Africa Summit on Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which is going to be online. Hopefully, if by then things would have been better, we might do it to have a physical conference. But for now, it's going to be online. You can reach me on. My name is Calvin Judici, as you see on the screen. If you go on all social media, I'm on LinkedIn with the same name. I'm on Facebook with the same name. I have a Facebook fan page as well. You can check it out. You can reach me out on any of those. Also, you can check my YouTube channel as well with the same name. I have a YouTube channel. You can be able to reach me as well. And my email also is calvinjodici@gmail.com.
Perfect. So if anyone wants to contact him, please reach out to the contact details he has provided, and I believe he will be more than happy to assist you. And once again, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your time, and thank you so much for keeping us company during this Wealth Wednesday live session. I believe we have learned something. And if you're starting a business, one way you can build on wealth is by starting a business and building on it. So keep working hard, keep building on your business, and do not give up. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Financial Wellness Center, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall be attaching the link on top of this session. And definitely, let's keep living financially healthy. God bless you.
Thank you.